Well, we're here again. Thanks everybody for coming. Today really is an epic day for the franchise. A lot of thanks to go around for something like this to happen. Number one, Danielle Cantor, who is Malcolm's agent. She worked tirelessly along with her assistant, David Falk, to make this happen. And so it's epic in that sense. But, you know, we looked at a lot of different scenarios. And I think what happens in free agency, you put on the board some of your biggest goals, some of the things you feel like that's really important. And then next to it, you look at like the percentages of what that'll happen. And it gives you a little bit of a guideline of how to attack free agency. And so, you know, with Malcolm, we put up there 10%. There's about a 10% chance of getting this player. And so we're going through the process, and Danielle and David and I are talking, you know, it felt like every 5 minutes, every 3 minutes. And a huge thanks and a big reason why we were able to sign him is because of Herb Simon. And Herb, I think it's been a little bit written about how he got involved, and he called Milwaukee's owner. But I'm absolutely convinced this doesn't happen without Herb and making that call and being a part of this. And so we owe a huge debt of gratitude to Herb for getting this done. I'm getting to know Malcolm. It's interesting. We do so much background and profiling on our players. We try to figure out kids that fit with what we're about, but also have talent to be a great player. And for us, Malcolm fits that to a T. We talk about 3T all the time: togetherness, toughness, and trust. And it's what we've built this Pacer team, and it's allowed us to overachieve. And without a doubt, Malcolm is that to a T. And so Nate and I had a lot of conversations. I'm sitting here before you, and I'm telling you right now that this is an epic day for our franchise. We created some cap space. We were able to acquire TJ Warren into that cap space, but you really want your cap space so you can go out there and get something special. And in acquiring Malcolm, we've got that person that we feel like is special. So today's a great day. We've worked hard for this. I want to thank a few people. I want to thank Chad Buchanan and Peter Dinwiddie and Kelly, because as you go into free agency, you love it. It's like a big test at the end of the year, but there's not much sleep. You don't sleep because you have to work the phones and you have to figure out what's best, and then you have to call audibles, so to speak. And we called an audible at the last minute. We were able to get this done, and we couldn't be more excited. We use that word, excited, a lot, but the truth is, this is one of the best days in this franchise's history because we were able to create the cap space and then go after a player who we really wanted. And, you know, in an era of all these players coming together and creating master teams or, you know, dream teams, we feel like we have a foundation here of many good players, of which Malcolm is a foundational piece. So it's a great day, and we really are excited.
Malcolm, you were obviously in a very good situation in Milwaukee. What then are your thoughts about this process and being a Pacer now?
You know, first I want to say thank you. So far, I think this front office is terrific. Starting with Herb Simon, I thought he did a great job, you know, hearing the details about the deal, acquiring me, putting forth the effort to get me. I thought it was great. Danielle Cantor, my agent, she's been terrific. David Falk as well. But, you know, I'm extremely excited to be here. It's a great opportunity. It's an organization where I immediately feel extremely valued. They have a great franchise player in Victor Oladipo, and they have great building blocks and, Miles Turner, Sabonis, guys like that, and a great coach in Coach McMillan. So, I'm excited to be here, excited to be a part of this organization, and I'm ready to start winning.
Malcolm, what were your initial thoughts when you heard Indiana was a team that had a lot of interest in you?
Extremely excited. Initially, I don't know if many people know, but initially my agents had wanted me to go to Indiana coming out of the draft. That was one of the, top teams for me in terms of fit, style of play, the coach, the front office, everything for me fit with this organization. And while it didn't happen, a few years later down the road, it's happened, and I couldn't be happier. This, I think, is the best fit for me.
Malcolm, following up on that, I was told that when you did your pre-draft interview with the Pacers in Chicago that you told them you wanted to go to Indiana. Is that correct, and why was that?
The fit. I've watched the Pacers for years. I've watched Coach McMillan coach this team. I've watched their toughness, their defensive ability, and focus on that end, and their ability to play together and win games as a team. And there is no one guy that is taking all the shots every night. They have a selfless leader in Victor Oladipo, and that's a guy I want to play with. This is a coach I want to play for, and a team I want to be a part of.
Nate, how do you see Malcolm fitting in when Victor is healthy and when Victor is not healthy?
Well, really going into free agency with the number of free agents we had this season, all of those spots were important. We had a 1, a 2, a 3 that we had to re-sign this year, but that point guard position I felt was the most important position to sign. As I mentioned, all of them were important, and to be able to bring Malcolm on board, it feels like the perfect fit for this organization going into the future. Getting this guard combination of Malcolm and Victor going into the future just feels like the right fit. He brings everything that he checks really all the boxes for us. We talk about character, we talk about leadership. He has won wherever he's gone. He's been very successful in his career from college basketball into the pros. He's a pro. He's a two-way player and outstanding guard. So really, he checked the boxes for us. And as Kevin mentioned, the 10% chance of getting him. I know I just got off a plane. I got off a plane that Sunday, and they told me that we had an opportunity to get Malcolm, and I think I started screaming in the phone because it's the perfect fit. What he brings to the table with this young group going into the future, it just made sense that he would be the guard that does that.
Excuse me. I'm going to take this a little bit off course. Bear with me. They know I'm a little. Malcolm, talk a little bit about what you do from a philanthropic standpoint, from a community standpoint. I understand you've gone overseas and seen some things. I think it's important people understand who you are as a human being. Talk about that a little bit, would you? Absolutely. When I was younger, I've been blessed with the opportunity to travel to Africa, travel abroad a little bit, but my first trip was to Ghana, Africa, to West Africa, and at that point, the poverty was really bad. That was really the first time I was able to see poverty firsthand, to see people malnourished, to see people not really have the necessities that they needed to live, a good life. So, from a young age, I understood that we were very blessed, that we took a lot for granted. But then a few years later, I was able to go to Malawi, and the poverty, everything, the situation, the circumstances were even worse. And sort of from that moment on, I realized that for me, my passion would be to help people, in impoverished communities, help people in third world communities. But to do that, I had to have the resources. I had to have the connections. I had to have the money. I had to put a lot of work in. And since then, the dream has been to play in the NBA, to have a great NBA career, and sort of flourish in the NBA. And then once I'm done here, would be to move into sort of the nonprofit sector. But you can't move into that sector without sort of laying the groundwork. And for me, I've partnered with Chris Long. He's a former NFL player, UVA grad. He has the Chris Long Foundation, and out of that foundation, he has a nonprofit called Water Boys, who build clean water wells in Africa and Tanzania specifically. And he has allowed me to create the brother organization called Hoops 2.0, and I'm leading that in the NBA. I have 4 or 5 guys on the team. We call it the starting 5, but it's 4 or 5 guys amongst other NBA teams that is helping me fundraise right now. It's been extremely fulfilling, and the better this team and the better I do, the more people are helped. So it's a very fulfilling aspiration.
So Malcolm, you wanted to be here, this fit and all that coming out of college. You're clearly not like a lot of people. A lot of people as good as you now, but whenever they want to be somewhere else, bigger cities, whatever. Why does this community, this state, whatever? Why are you here?
I look at Indiana as the original basketball state. Whether you look at the movies that are based on this state, you look at Coach Bob Knight, the University of Indiana, you look at the Pacers, Reggie Miller, you look at all these guys that have come through Indiana, all the talent that has started in Indiana and goes other places. I know people here love basketball as much as any city in the country, and this team is really embraced in this community. So I'm excited to be a part of it, to get to know Indiana better, to understand the needs in the community so that I can help and I can sort of make an impact. But most importantly, to win games and really continue something special here.
Malcolm, you're a second-round pick. A couple years later, your bosses are using words like epic and just transformational day. Was this the vision all along? We know how tough this league can be when you aren't a lottery guy. How did this happen?
Through a lot of support from my family, a lot of people that have had their hands sort of in the pot that have helped me. My mom, my brothers, I've had so many people help me along the way, but also a lot of determination, a lot of people telling me no, but me deciding that no wasn't going to be the final answer for me. Even draft day. Draft day was, pretty upsetting for me. I thought I would go in the first round at least. I didn't think I'd fall to the second round. I fell to the second round. But that's sort of been my path. Since I was in high school, people told me I wasn't athletic enough. They told me my feet were too flat. They told me all types of things that, they thought would be barriers, but I've decided to overcome them. I've had help overcoming them. I've been blessed with, amazing blessings and opportunities. A lot of this is about timing. And that's really what God does for you. He puts you in the right situation at the right time, and it ends up working out. So I've had so many things happen at the right time, and now I think I'm in a great situation, and I'm as happy now as I've ever been in my basketball career.
Kevin, you mentioned the 10% chance at the start. What changed, and did you believe sending the picks was a must to get this done?
Well, I think us acquiring a couple extra second-round picks probably got this over the edge in terms of the deal. But I really believe when Herb talked to the owner of Milwaukee, and they had a very open and honest discussion, and both of them said, let's make this deal. At that point in time, it went from 10% to 90% on that call. And that's something that, I'd never seen before in my life. But you can see how Herb has been so successful, and that is he wants win-win deals. He was all about, let's figure out how to make a win-win deal, something Milwaukee could come away and feel good about and look to their future with the first-round pick in 2 seconds. But for us, it was about, we had set this up to have cap space. Again, you can use cap space in a lot of different ways, but our goal was to get the highest talented player, but also someone of great character, and someone that if you're going to invest in and use your resources, we wanted to use it for a foundational player. We already have a couple foundational players in Domas and Miles and Victor. And for us, it wasn't just about getting a high talent person. Everybody says, well, you just want to go after the highest talent. That's wrong. That's not the way we do it here. One of the biggest things that Nate and I believe in is everybody on the roster you want to have dinner with, you want to be a part, you want to feel comfortable with them. And in today's age of, social media and all that crazy stuff, you want guys that you can be proud of. And to me, we're walking into next year. I've been very proud of the last 2 years, completely overachieved. I'm more excited and potentially have a chance to be a good team with great human beings, and that's important to us.
About the great human being part, how much did you know about Malcolm? I'm guessing you knew a lot, but how much are you learning about Malcolm, who he is?
Well, a lot of credit goes to Vance Catlin, who's our director of pro personnel. And at the end of the day, I get a report on every free agent. And my guess is there's 25 to 30 pages on every free agent, from their analytics to their AAU coach to their best friend. I mean, we do very deep dives into the players. And then Nate and I talk about how does that fit. And I think Nate, when we told him we had a chance to get Malcolm, it wasn't just, oh my goodness, that was Nate as the most excited I think I've seen him in 10 years. I think he said really like 15 times in a row. And it was funny because Herb was on the call too, and he kept going, really, really. And so I think that sort of is, the way we feel about it. This is a day that we pinch ourselves a little bit. We planned for something like this, but you still have to execute. And one of the things is probably he has to choose us as much as we choose him. And today's, again, an epic day in this franchise's history.
Malcolm, Kevin mentioned this era of social media. Is it accurate that you're not on Twitter or Instagram? And is there a lesson for the rest of us in that if you're not?
Yeah, it's accurate. I used to have an Instagram maybe halfway through my past season with the Bucks. Got rid of it, felt like I needed to focus and just make things in my life a little bit more simple. I think social media has the ability to complicate things, to bring negativity, to do a lot of stuff that can serve as a distraction, definitely during an NBA season. So for me, it was about limiting my distractions and all the media and noise. But I think social media can also be used in a really good way, especially for me. I think branding and for my platform, for my Hoops 2.0 project, my nonprofit work, I think it can be great. So I think I'll get my Instagram back. But I won't have much access to it. I might have someone else run it for me because I don't really like, seeing what's really going on with everybody else.
Malcolm, you're regarded as a versatile player. Which position do you feel is your best, and what part of your game do you feel is your primary strength?
To answer the first question, I think point guard is my best position. Not even having the ball in my hands. It's just being able to make decisions, being able to influence what happens on the floor and bring guys together and lead them to win. And, the second question, I think my IQ and my versatility, which turns into winning games. I think those are my strongest assets. You can look at, my 3%. You can look at, all the whatever accolades, whatever people want to say. But I think it's my IQ and my ability to win and bring a team together is my strongest asset.
Malcolm, have you had a chance to speak with Victor yet? And how do you feel like your games complement each other skill set wise?
I have. Victor reached out to me immediately when he heard about the deal. I'm actually going to Vegas to work out with him a little bit in the next few days, so I'm looking forward to building a relationship with him. I think our games fit extremely well together. I'm not a guy that's coming in here trying to take over. This is Victor's team. This is his franchise. I want to help Victor be an all-star every year, be a superstar. So that's important to me, to help this team win, to really make his job easier. That's what I think I can do as a point guard, as a guy that can be a point guard but play off the ball. He can have the ball in his hands as much as he wants, but when he doesn't want the ball, he can trust that his point guard will make good decisions and can step up for him.
Yeah, Malcolm, I guess not just Victor. I mean, there's a lot of other pieces that have been added. I mean, how do you see yourself complimenting kind of all the guys on the floor as the point guard?
I have a really good feeling about this team. From Sabonis to Turner, there's some great talents on the floor, and my goal is not to, take any more possessions from them. It's to give them more possessions, to give them more freedom, to give them more space with my shooting ability, with certain things I do on the floor, just so that they can, reach their potential.
Kevin, why was it just 10%? Why was it so low before Herb got involved?
Because in restricted free agency, the other teams got to agree to it. And so for us, we had to have a partner that was willing to do a deal. And, look, at the end of the day, that's our best guess. And we had 4 what we considered great options. Every one of those great options for us had him in it. And so the split second we were able to get a deal, it was on to getting Jeremy Lamb. And that allowed the trickle-down decisions become a lot easier because we knew we had him.
Was it because Eastern Conference, they didn't want to trade with him in conference?
I think just in general, he's so highly sought after by not just us, but the rest. There were 29 other teams, I'm guessing, that were pretty active in getting Malcolm. There was a lot of teams with cap space. So you're not only competing with that, you're competing with the team that completely wants to keep him. And so by making an honorable deal, making a deal where both teams feel like that they can come away with a respectable win-win situation, that's what was the difference maker.